I really doubt that we're going to see an inflationary cycle.
Most economic analysts believe that it will have a temporary or transitory impact.
The faster than expected increase in some of those prices is actually a good sign.
The overwhelming consensus is going to pop up a little bit and then go back down. No one's talking about this great,
This is something that will settle down.
Transitory.
Transitory.
And the data shows that most of the price increases we've seen were expected and are expected to be temporary. There's nobody suggesting there's unchecked inflation on the way. It's highly unlikely that it's going to be long-term inflation that's going to get out of hand. I don't know anybody who's worried about inflation.
Over the last couple of months, we actually saw it trended downward.
President Biden's chief of staff, Ron Klain, enthusiastically retweeted an economist who had said in part most of the economic problems we're facing, inflation, supply chains, et cetera, are high-class problems.
What is the Granholm plan to increase oil production in America?
Oh, my God. That is hilarious.
Well, the number one thing that the president can do is help get COVID under control. That we know is the root cause of inflation.
President Biden this afternoon saying he thinks we're at the peak of the crisis right now and that lower prices are on the way.
The inflation has everything to do with the supply chain. Make no mistake, inflation is largely the fault of Putin. I'm going to do everything I can to minimize Putin's price hike here at home.
If you want to get rid of inflation, the only way to do it is to undo a lot of the Trump tax cuts.
I think ever since you've come into office, things are really looking up. You know, gas is up, rent is up, food is up, everything.
Will happen. We're not saying they will reverse. That's not what transitory means. It means that the increases in prices will happen, so there will be inflation, but that the process of inflation will stop, so that there won't be further. When we think of inflation, we really think of inflation going up year upon year upon year upon year. That's inflation. When you have inflation for 12 months or whatever it may be, I'm just taking an example and not making an estimate, then you have a price increase, but you don't have an inflation process. And so part of that just is that if it doesn't affect longer-term inflation expectations, then it's very likely not to affect the process of inflation going forward. So what I mean by transitory is just something that doesn't leave a permanent mark on the inflation process. Again, I don't mean that producers are going to take those price increases back. That's not the idea. It's just that they won't go on indefinitely. So to the extent people are implementing price increases because raw materials are going up or labor costs or something's going up, the question really for inflation really is, does that mean they're going to go up the next year by the same amount? So you're going to be in a process where the inflation process gets going, and that happens because people's expectations about future inflation move up. And we don't think that's happening. There's no evidence that it's happening. All the evidence is that it's not happening. But nonetheless, we have to watch this very carefully because this is, we have two mandates, maximum employment and price stability. Price stability for us means inflation averaging 2% over time. And so we've got to be very careful about that. But I think it's a good point that it's a term. What it really means is temporary. But then you got to understand that it doesn't mean that the increases will be taken back. Some of them will be, but that's not really what it means. In terms of, so we're working virtually here, and we'll be coming back down the road in a couple of months, starting to bring people back here at the Board of Governors in Washington. And